Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for being present for this function of our life. I feel extremely blessed and fortunate for the opportunity to speak something in service of God and humanity. I see your great blessings. I can speak something about education. We are discussing about how Srila Prabhupada built a home in which
Whole
world. This home is needed to be a home. It's spiritual home. And it has a spiritual way to build the home. Ordinary home has a foundation made of, steel, cement, and bricks and stones and all these things. And we have floorings and walls and roofs, and doors and windows and so many things. Beautiful. So that is spiritual home. What is foundation of spiritual home? Actually, built.
Shravanam Kirtanam.
Individual and collective sadhana. Beginning
Shravanam.
with hearing and chanting. And this foundation will home will be strong. It will not collapse by earthquakes, But if foundation is not good, some storms come, some earthquakes come, some challenges come, everything will collapse. So the foundation is invisible. We may not be able to see, but it's very important. So individual sadhana and collective sadhana. Maybe one may not be able to see, but it's very, very important. And then second is flooring. What is flooring?
Humble union service attitude.
Humble menial service attitude. So understanding, I am Das and my constitutional position is to serve. Everybody is my Prabhu and Das. When we realize this thing, then we'll see this world is Vaikuntha. It's a spiritual world. We won't find miserable. But when we unconsciously think, I am master, I am Prabhu, and everybody is my Das, then this world is Vaikuntha, very miserable place. Dukhalan is a governmental city because they have this understanding. I am master, and everybody is going to give me enjoyment, serve me. And therefore, there are so many expectations, and expectations lead to frustration and misery. But when you are in task mode and we are always looking for service, then there is bliss. So when we come in the community of devotees with that proper mood, then it's very easy. Otherwise, if you forget this, and by nature in this material world, people, if one is not conscious, one gets trapped by Bhoga Ishwarya Prasaptana. One, if one is not conscious, one will just gravitate naturally to Bhoga, enjoy Ishwarya. One will want opulence and comforts and all this. And then if one gets caught up in enjoyment and opulence and comforts, then Taya Aparadachis, internal security. And then he cannot have outside income. He cannot be focused in spiritual path. Therefore, we see Shicheta has taught us, Shicheta has taught us how to be pray. Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundari, Kavitam Vajarabishkam, Mama Janmani Ishwari, I don't want anything else. I just want to serve you, my dear Lord. Life. Not that I want to serve so that I can get something in return. This Kanchan, Kamini, Pratishtha, Bhalini, Pratishtha, Bhalini. So these three things, W, wealth, payment, worship. These are great challenges. And if you are not conscious in devotional service, by default, one gets attracted to them for a period of time. So one have to consciously reaffirm our to be humble servant. this is not what I want. And what I want is humble meaning service. The byproduct of doing dharma is artha. If I don't do devotional service, byproduct is one will get wealth and then everything will come. But one has to be conscious that it's not meant for my enjoyment, it's meant for Krishna's service. And therefore we need to regularly hear and we need to be in our session during we have to remind each other so that that proper mood is always maintained. So this flooring is humble medial service attitude. GXO Krishna Nityadas. And then next is
Walls.
walls. Walls are
Loving relationship with devotion.
loving relationships amongst devotees. Maharaj says, elegant temple structures, beautiful deities, melodious kirtans, mind-boggling philosophy, delicious, sumptuous prasada. All these things can attract people to Krishna consciousness. But it may not be able to sustain their Krishna consciousness unless there is loving relationships. So what keeps devotees in devotional services? Loving relationships among devotees. Based on this mode of being humble servant or servant. This loving relationships are based on proper Vaishnava etiquettes, honoring and respecting everyone appropriately. That's the loving relationship between a community. It's very important that there is a synergy between grahasthas and panchats, between preachers and managers. Everybody is unique and everybody is confident in different way. And everybody may have different ideas, but there has to be harmony and synergy. Then everything becomes beautiful. But if there is no mutual respect, mutual cooperation, then variety may create disturbance and anxiety and conflicts and a lot of pain. So there has to be proper harmony and so we see, especially when there's proper harmony, it's very, very attractive. And actually, we need harmony and synergy because if we want to preach, we need everybody. We need brahmacharis, we need grahasthas, we need educated people, we need all types of people. So, and when we genuinely are able to acknowledge everyone's contribution, appreciate everybody, that is very nice. And then everybody feels welcome. Everybody feels valued, so they can continue. You see, when you offer garland to Lord, the garland with different flowers, you see, red flower, white flower, yellow flower, this becomes very beautiful. But if you want to offer flower, garland to Lord, if you offer one flower, it's okay, beautiful, but flower garland is more beautiful. And if you have one flower garland with only one flower, one color, it's wonderful, but if there is variety, it's more beautiful. So, and how is flower garland made? Flower garland, for making flower garland, we need flowers. What else we need?
Thread.
We need thread.
Needle.
What else? We need needle. So you said, people, general people, they are considered like flower. And preachers are considered like needle. And this are actually considered like thread. They can hold it together and take care and help everybody, remain. So anyway, everybody is important.
Thread is compared to grahastha.
This is what analogy our Radha Guru was sharing. So they can maintain everything. Like Prabhupada also, when he started ISKCON, actually all the temple presidents and managers were grahasthas. Prabhupada wanted grahasthas to manage and take responsibility for temple because it involves so much dealing with money, women, government, so many things. So Brahmacharya may not be expert in that or may not be conducive for them. Grahasthas actually can maintain, sustain, inspire, and so uh, so like I was reading a purport of this Shravanam Kirtan Vishnu Smart Prabhupada mentions how in that purport also elaborately about how Grahasthas should take care of temple, take care of deity worship, take care of all these things. Maybe I'll read about this. So that verse is also going on, but because lack of time I did not. So in the Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarnam Padasevanam Arjanam Vandanam Rasam Sankhyan Atmani Vedanam. And that in deity worship, Archana, Prabhupada mentions about these things. So it is recommended that initial devotees follow the principles of Navas Pantarantara by worshipping deities in temple, especially for household devotees who are opulent in material positions. Path of deity worship is strongly recommended. An opulent household devotee who does not engage his hard-earned money in the service of Lord is called a miser. One should not engage paid brahmanas to worship the deity. If one does not personally worship the deity but engages paid servants instead, he is considered lazy, and his worship of the deity is called artificial. An opulent householder can collect luxurious paraphernalia for deity worship, and consequently, for household devotees, worship of deity is compulsory. In our Krishna conscious movement, there are brahmacharis, grahasthas, vanprasthas, and sannyasis. But the deity worship in temples should be performed especially by the householders. Brahmacharis can go with the sannyasis to preach, and vanprasthas should prepare themselves for the next stage of namaskar. Sannyas. Grahastha devotees, however, are generally engaged in material activities, and therefore, if they take to deity worship, their falling down is positively. If they do not take to deity worship, their falling down is positively assured. Deity worship means following rules and regulations precisely. That will keep one steady in devotion service. Generally, householders have children, and then the wives of the householders should be engaged in caring for children, just as women acting as teacher care for children in a nursery school. Grahastha devotee must adopt this. So Prabhupada goes on and on. So how it's very important. Basically, every devotees have important role, and everybody has to be appreciated and acknowledged. Then there can be loving reciprocation, loving. Then that community is very. Anybody comes there and he sees everybody being honored and respected and valued, and their loving relation, he also wants to be part of it. So this is wall. And what is then next? Roof. Roof means shelter. Mature and timely personal guidance. So you want to continue devotion. Everybody needs guidance. Timely guidance, mature guidance. Otherwise, people may come out, take up Krishna consciousness very seriously. They may be very active, but they may become like Diwali ka rocket. And then after Diwali ka goes up for some time and then finish. So one should not be just like a Diwali ka rocket for just some time shining, but like a pole star. Not like a shooting star, but pole star. But to be like a pole star in this material is not so easy. It requires timely guidance, it requires support. So therefore, one should access that support by Kadvidi Kanima,
Pariprashna.
And lessons, emotional tender service, not just theoretical. Sometimes some people are very expert in asking questions, but then they don't follow. And they will have so many questions, one after another. So just by asking so many questions and getting intellectual understanding, if you don't follow, the number of questions will increase. But one thoughts and heart will not be served, heart will not be served. You want to render service only for service of Lord and service. And as seniors are concerned, everybody should receive shelter and offer shelter. Offering shelter mainly means genuine care and concern for others. One should be accessible to others. And one should become trustworthy. People should be able to trust. People should not be very close to him. Maybe he'll use me, engage me for his own personal things, or no, yeah, he'll exploit me. So one should, one's character should be such that people can trust. So when people are trustworthy, then naturally people would like to taste it. We cannot legislate the thing that way. It has to be inspired, and people should know. Yes, there can be some system, but still within system, most important thing is personal inspiration, motivation, and that person that people should feel that trust. So if people receive that shelter, then people can free from anxiety and tension. People can be happy. But if that shelter is not there, always one will be in anxiety. Tension. If there is an anxiety, they cannot practice spiritual life, happily, joyfully. But when there is shelter, person can be blissful and very happily practice. So roof. Then what else are there in home, house? Foundation done, flooring done, wall done, then roof done.
Windows, doors and windows.
Imagine there is a house without doors and windows. What do you have? It will become samadhi. So there has to be door. There has to be windows. So doors are completed. Doors and windows are completed compassionate outreach. Doors are completed direct outreach, direct reaching, like food distribution, Harinam Sankirtan, talking directly to Krishna Katha. And then windows are considered with
Bridge.
Yes, indirect reaching, like starting Govindas, Goshala, yoga classes, vegan cooking, or whatever, no? Different types of endeavors. So that can be different varieties of reaching, by which different kinds of people can be attracted, inspired, motivated. You see, Mahaprabhu himself has come for this mission, and the purpose of this call is informative, enlighten people, and attract people, and engage people in devotion service. That is preaching. You see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so expert. He took sannyas just for preaching. Similar people may do PhD or just for preaching purpose, or they may go to school, college, they go to grad job, whatever else for preaching. Sometimes somebody may just get married so that one can preach. So just become a sannyasi just so that he can preach. So these are various strategies for preaching. So you see, took sannyas, and later on, when he went to South India, his style was preaching was simple. Just do Harina. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So just by chanting and dancing, Sri Chaitanya would deliver. His preaching was so amazing. Just by seeing the beauty from God, people used to get so captivated. Mahaprabhu used to just embrace them. They would go in ecstasy. And they would continue chanting. And when they go home, anybody would see them, they would become devotees. Anybody they would embrace, they would become devotees. And practically, it was like we saw a few years back, Corona was spreading just by touch, just by, so it was like viral, pandemic. So, like that, she just now created a pandemic of love of God by his traveling, preaching, and chanting, dancing. You see, when you are going to Vrindavan, to the forest of Jarivan, He inspired even animals, tigers, elephants, and deers to chant. He inspired even snakes. In Charity person, that snakes also chant Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
Prabhupada said we may not be so exalted that we can make animals and birds and beasts and reptiles, no, and insects and Hare Krishna, but at least we can make humans who are like animals, no, who will get it. At least we can inspire them to chant Hare Krishna. So that was his main preaching this thing. But for this was mass preaching, and then there was class preaching. How Shri preached to Sarvabhaumacharya. He was the chief priest of Jagannath Puri, how he transformed. When we see Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, he sat with them. Rupa Goswami, he was there. He was 10 days studying. Sanatana Goswami is almost 1 month studying him at Varanasi, and then Prakashananda Saraswati, So most of the people may get attracted by chanting, dancing, all these things. But especially those who are people very much affected by material energy. Intelligence is stored by those are unfortunate people. They will not be able to understand Krishna, so we have to explain their philosophy. And especially those are influenced by Mayavad and Shunyavad. Very difficult for them to understand and appreciate Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada said most of the Western world is inflected by this Mayavad and Shunyavad. Prabhupada came here and he wrote his books, he presented his books, he traveled everywhere preaching this message in a systematic way, logical way, in a convincing way, and made so many people. So you see, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he had, when he was in Varanasi, there were Tapal Mishra, Sanatana Goswami, there was Maharashtra Brahmin, there were few devotees there, but Mahaprabhu was engaged with his devotees and all this thing, but Mahaprabhu never associated with Mayavadis. But as Mayavadis, when they saw Mahaprabhu chanting and dancing, they started criticizing. And when devotees used to go out, they used to hear that criticism. And devotees' hearts would pain. Mahaprabhu was long time in this Varanasi. 1 month at least he instructed to Sanatana Goswami. Besides that, he was also more. And when devotees heard on this criticism, it was very difficult. So they were thinking what to do. So they went and spoke to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very difficult to hear last minute. So here we say, my Lord, if a thunderbolt falls on my head, or if my son dies, I can tolerate it. But I cannot endure the unhappiness hearing this criticism. CC Adi in this thing that our devotees were disturbed by hearing the criticism. So they couldn't tolerate, so they went reported from Mahaprabhu. He will do something. Was so therefore that time was number CC Adi Adi 7 chapter 49. इतिमध्ये चंद्रशेखर मिश्र का बना दुखी है प्रभु पाए कोयले निवेदन Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sanatana Goswami. Both Chandrasekhar and Tapal Mishra became very unhappy. Therefore, they submitted an appeal to the lotus feet of Lord. कते कर सुनी गो प्रभु तोमार निंदन ना पारे सहिते एवे झाड़े में जीवन They said, "Oh my Lord, how long can we tolerate blasphemy by your critics against your conduct? We should give up our lives rather than hear this blasphemy. It's too much." And so, do something. We can't tolerate now. तो हमारा निंदय यत सन्यासी रगन सुनीते न पारी पटे हृदय श्रवण. My son is all criticizing your holiness. We cannot tolerate hearing such criticism. For this blasphemy breaks our heart. So when we hear blasphemy of Lord or blasphemy of other devotees, it will break our heart. That is a sign of love. If you don't have love, then even whatever people say, you don't feel anything. No? So, यह सुने रहे प्रभु ईशित हसिया सही काले के कवि मिलेला हसिया. So that time Mahaprabhu just smiled, and that time one Maharashtra Brahmin came and he gave invitation. असे निवेदन करे चरण धरिया एक वस्तु मांगो देह प्रसन्न हरिया. The Brahmana fell at the feet of Chitmabu and requested him to accept his proposal in joyful mood. सकल सन्यासी मोई खाई नो निमंत्रण तुम्ही यदि ऐसे पूर्ण अयमोर मन. He said, "My Lord, I invited all the sannyasis of Varanasi to my home, and my desire will be if you also accept my invitation." So Lord inspired actually this Brahmana to invite all sannyasis, because when Lord saw that people were feeling pain, he decided that we should deliver this sannyas. And then how to deliver? So he arranged some meeting, because there has to be some meeting. So this Brahmana, he invited all the sannyasis to his home for prasad. And then he invited Mahaprabhu. नाया सन्यासी गोष्ठी यह आम्ही जानी मोरे अनुग्रह कर निमंत्रण मानी. So Brahmana said, "My dear Lord, I know that you never mix with other sannyasis, but please be merciful unto me and accept my invitation." प्रभु हसी निमंत्रण कैले अंगीकार सन्यासी रे कृपा लागी ये भांगी तहार. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and accepted the invitation of Brahmana. He made this gesture to show his mercy to Mahavir sannyasis, because he couldn't tolerate devotees suffering. से विप्र जानिने प्रभु नायान कर घरे तार प्रेरणाय तारे अत्याग्रह करे. So Brahman knew that Lord Chaitanya never went to anyone else's house. Yet due to inspiration from Lord, he earnestly requested him to accept this invitation. The next day when Lord Chaitanya went to the house of that Brahmana, he saw all sannyasis Brahmanas sitting there. सब नमस्कारी गेला पाद प्रक्षालन करी वसेले से स्थानी. As soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the sannyasis, immediately offered obeisances, and then he went to wash his feet. After washing his feet, he sat down by the place just there. And when sannyasis saw him, वसिया करिला किचु ऐश्वर्य प्रकाश महातेजोमय वपु कोटि सूर्य भास. So Mahaprabhu, when he sat near the feet washing area, after sitting on the ground, Mahaprabhu exhibited his mystic power by manifesting an effulgence as brilliant as the illumination of millions of suns. Mahaprabhu sons are very attracted to effulgence and manifested such effulgence. They got activated. प्रभावे आकर्षिले सब सन्यासी रे मन उठिल सन्यासी सब छाड़िया आसन. So when sannyasis saw the brilliant effulgence, immediately they got up from the seat. They were very much attracted, and out of respect, they stood up. प्रकाशनम दन्ना में सर्व सन्यासी प्रदान प्रभु के कहिए किचु करिए सम्मान. So leader of the sannyasis was Prakashan Saraswati. After standing up, he addressed Mahaprabhu and requested him this way. यह आसिया यह ऐसा सुनह श्रीपाद अपवित्र स्थानीय वैसा किब अवसान. Oh my dear Holiness, please come here, your Holiness. Why do you sit in that unclean place? What has caused your lamentation? प्रभु कहे आमिहाय हीन संप्रदाय तोमा सबार सबाय बसिते ना जाय. Lord replied, I belong to lower order sannyas. Therefore, I do not deserve to sit with you. So Mahaprabhu was very respectful. You see, in preaching, one has to be very humble and very respectful. If you bring our false ego between, then it will be very difficult to transform others' hearts. So Mahaprabhu is not, but he's sitting in a lonely place, and he's sannyasi, he's a Brahmana, he's a great pandit, but he's still considering himself as a lower class sannyasi. He's saying, you are high class sannyasis. You are Saraswat Brahman sannyasis. I am a no bhakti, low class, you know. So, like that. And so we appreciate it. So it's very important when we preach, whoever they may be, we need to honor and respect them. Here are Mayavad, but he is respecting them. He's taking humble role. He's supreme God, but he is also considering himself lowly. अपने प्रकाशंद हतिते धरिया वशील्या सभा मध्ये समान करे. Then Prakashan says immediately went forward, caught hold of Shri Mahaprabhu's hand, and personally lifted him, brought him with great respect, made him sit in the midst of us. पूछिले तोमार नाम श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य केशव भारती शिष्य ताते तुम्ही धन्य. Prakashan said, "But I understand your name is Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and you are disciple Shri Keshav Bharati, and therefore you are very glorious. But I have some question. संप्रदायिक सन्यासी तुम्ही रहा एक ग्रामे की कारणे अमा सवार ना करे दर्शन. You are sannyasi from our same sampradaya, Sankar Sampradaya. You are staying in the same village, Varanasi. But we see that you don't associate with us. You are always avoiding us. Can you please tell us what's the matter?" And then yes, sannyasi hai kar garam nartana gayana bhavuk sabasange gaya kar sankirtan. What is this? You are a sannyasi, and like a sentimentalist, you are just engaged in chanting and dancing in company of some fanatics. This doesn't suit that behavior. Sannyasi. Vedanta patam dhyana sannyasi dharma. Achadi kare kena bhav kera karma. Well, sannyasi and sannyasi's duty is dhyana, meditation, study of Vedanta, and rejecting those duties. Why are dancing with these fanatic people, ignorant fools, ignorant people of this world? प्रभावे देखिया तो न साक्षात नारायण ही न आचार कर रहे के न इथे के कारण. You look as brilliant as if you are Narayan himself. So can you please kindly explain the reason that you have adopted the behavior of lower class people? So because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very humble, very respectful. Prakashan Sadhus was ready to hear from him. And when Prakashan Sadhus was ready, then he spoke. So preaching means we have to act and deal in such a way that people are ready to hear from us. Otherwise, we keep on speaking, they are not interested in hearing, they get so frustrated, they run away from us. That is preaching. So here we see, because of the other people, they themselves were eagerly asking questions. And then Mahaprabhu started answering. Prabhu kahe suna Shripan, ihar karana, guru more, murkha dekhi, karile shasan. The holiness, the reason behind it is that actually my spiritual master, when he saw me, he considered me a fool. And therefore he chastised me. Now, do you have any record where Ishwar will consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as fool and he chastised? But that was his feeling. Devotional service is like, he's thinking, oh, I'm very fool, I'm foolish. He felt himself fool in front of spiritual. The spiritual master, Shri Pad, Ishwar always glorified, appreciated Chaitanya, considering him God, he knew his God. But Chaitanya always played role like a disciple, and like disciple means he should feel like a fool in front of spiritual people. And then only person with whom Shri Chaitanya accepted defeat was with Ishwar Guru when he had corrected the book. मूर्ख तुम्ही तोमार नाही का वेदांत अधिकार कृष्ण मंत्र जप सदा ए मंत्र सा. He said, my spiritual master told me that I have no qualification to study Vedanta. and I must only chant Hare Krishna Maha. This is the essence of all scriptures. And then Prabhupada has given such a big, beautiful Prabhupada. Krishna mantra hai de habe sansara mochana, Krishna hai de pabe Krishnera charana. So we see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explain how just by chanting the whole name of Krishna, one cannot have freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one will be able to see the lotus feet of God. So we see Lord Chaitanya, he manifested his humility, and then he spoke about the glories of Bhagavan. And then he spoke this verse, very famous verse. He said, my spiritual master told me this famous verse. Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
last day. Then Prakash Saraswati said, we don't have any issue with chanting holy names. You can chant holy names. But why don't you study Vedanta? You could study, okay, fine. You're chanting, no problem. But you should study Vedanta. What issues you have with Vedanta? Then Mahaprabhu explained how. He said, I have no issues with Vedanta. But I have issues with the way Shankaracharya has presented Vedanta Sutra. He said how Shankaracharya has only taken Gaun meaning. There are two meanings, Mukhya Vrutti and Gaun Vrutti. Mukhya, main meaning, direct meaning, and indirect meaning. And how he has covered the real meaning of Vedanta Sutra. Then he explained, but we don't have to blame Shankaracharya because Shankaracharya is just a humble servant of Supreme Lord Vishnu and he just is executing the order. It was order of Supreme Lord to preach this Mayavad Bhashya, Asad Shastra, to bewilder so-called devotees, atheist, or in guise of devotees. No? So he said, he is Lord Shiva himself and he is acting appropriately as a service to Lord. And he explained then all this Mayavad was time. They asked him, please explain Vedanta Sutra. Then Mahaprabhu explained Vedanta Sutra. Very wonderful. How everything in Vedas can be compared in this Samantha Avideya Prayojana. Samantha. Our Lord is Supreme Lord. We are his part and parcel. We are eternal servant. And our eternal duty is to engage in that duty. Avideya is Bhakti and Prayojana is Krishna. And after that, they had a wonderful day. Everybody was very inspired. They said, Jai, Jai. And then they took Prasad and Mahaprabhu left. From there, they came back. They were so happy that they had me. So, then later on, after Mahaprabhu left, we see there is further discussion going on among Mayavadi sannyasis. That comes in, that comes in Chaitanya Madhya 22nd chapter. So, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, सन्यासी गण प्रभु यदि उपेक्षिमा तत् दुख खांडी देता है कृपा करेगा verse number 24. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य हय साक्षात नारायण व्यास सूत्र अर्थ करेन अति मनोरम. We see after Mahaprabhu left and Prasad and everything happened, then one of the prime disciples of Prakash, he stood up and started speaking to all other sannyasis. He said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Supreme Person Godhead, Narayan himself. And when he explains Vedanta Sutra, he does so nicely. तो उपनिषद करेन मुख्यार्थ व्याख्यान सुनिए पंडित लोके जुड़ाए मन कान. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains the direct meaning of Upanishad, when all learned scholars hear their minds and ears are completely satisfied. So they told Mahaprabhu that somehow earlier we are not satisfied. Still, because we are part of Sampradaya, we are just repeating it. Sutra Upanishad मुख्यार्थ छड़िया आचार्य कल्पना करे अग्रह करिया giving up the direct meaning of Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishad, Shankaracharya imagine some other interpretation. आचार्य कल्पित अर्थ ये पंडित सुने मुखे हाय हाय करे हृदय न माने. He said all the interpretations of Shankaracharya are imaginary. Such imaginary interpretations are verbally accepted by learned scholars, but they do not appeal to the heart. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य वाक्य दृढ़ सत्य मानी कली काले सन्यासे संसार नाही जिनी. In words of Sri Krishna Chaitanya who are firm and convincing, and I accept them as true. In this age of Kali, one cannot be delivered from material culture simply by formally accepting the renounced order. हरे नाम श्लोके ये कलिल व्याख्यान से सत्य सुख अर्थ परम प्रमाण. Sri Chaitanya explanation verse beginning Hare Nam is not only pleasing to hear but is strong factual evidence. भक्ति बिना मुक्ति नाही भगवते काय कली काले नाम वासे सुखे मुक्ति है. In this age of Kali, one cannot have liberation without taking shelter of devotion to the Lord. In this age, even if one chant the holy name of Krishna imperfectly, he still attains liberation very easily. And then he further speaks, my dear Lord, the devotion service unto you is the only auspicious path. If one gives up simply for spiritual knowledge or understanding that these living beings are spirit souls and material world is false, he undergoes a great deal of trouble. He only gains troublesome and inauspicious activities. His actions are like beating the husk that already void of rice. His labor becomes fruitless. So he speaks on many wonderful things, appreciating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, appreciating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy and all these things. And then all sannyasis, become very joyful. They say, Jai, Jai. And Prakashana also speaks. And all this discussion, because the Maharashtra Brahman was there, he was because all everything was happening in his home. When he hears, he becomes too happy. And then later on, when Sannyasi goes to leave his home, he goes to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, he tells Mahaprabhu what happens after him, after he left, and how they are so very touched. And Mahaprabhu is very happy to hear that. And then Mahaprabhu again goes to Bindu Madhav temple to take darshan of Lord and to do kirtans. And there, in Bindu Madhav temple, Mahaprabhu doing kirtans. That time, Prakashan service comes along with all his disciples there. Verse number 72. How Mahaprabhu deals with verse 72. प्रकाशानंद प्रभु वंदिल चरण प्रकाशानंद आसीतार हरिल चरण. So after stopping the kirtan, when Mahaprabhu saw that, after stopping the Sri Mahaprabhu was a great example of humility, offered prayers under the feet of Prakashananda. At this, Prakashananda immediately came forward and clasped the Lord's lotus feet. So Mahaprabhu was doing kirtans in temple and Mahaprabhu stopped the kirtans. He offered prayers. Prakashananda immediately went and fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu and hold the feet. Can you imagine Sannyasi Prakashananda, who is the leader of 60,000 Sannyasi, leader of all. He's falling at the feet and clasping the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then imagine somebody is such a big person, the biggest scientist comes and falls at your feet. How will you feel? But how is Mahaprabhu's response? Mahaprabhu, he did this. प्रभु कहे तुम्ही जगत गुरु पूज्यतम आम्ही तोमा नाही शिष्य शिष्य सम. So he said, hey, Krishna, what are you doing? My dear sir, you are the spiritual master of the whole world. You are the Guru. Therefore, you are most worshipful. You are worthy of respect. I should worship you. And as far as I am concerned, he said, I am not even on the level of your disciple of your disciple. What to speak of you? You are so exalted. Your disciple also exalted. Your disciple of disciple, I am not compared to even that. And how you are touching my feet is not appropriate. So Mahaprabhu's humility, it was not that, So Mahaprabhu, I should say this in preaching is the most important aspect. How we deal with people, and how we make people feel. We make people feel you are fool and rascal and useless. They will feel very disheartened. How is going on? How is thinking? How much honor and respect is given? How much genuinely humble? So a lot of Jain happened, and Mahaprabhu is especially this. Mahaprabhu is not only telling Pranadavi, Sunichi, and Tavayu Sanction. Mahaprabhu himself is demonstrating what it means to be Pranadavi. Here Prakashana Saraswati touching his feet. And he's saying, oh, my God, you are Jagat Guru. Man, I am not even equal to your disciple. श्रेष्ठ है के न कर हिनेर वंदन अमर सर्वनाश है तुम्ही ब्रह्म सम said you are a great spiritual advanced personality and therefore you cannot worship a fallen person like me, inferior person. I am far inferior to you. If you do so, my spiritual power will be diminished. For you are as good as impersonal Brahman. He said, if we accept worship from superior person, one is destroyed. So inferior cannot accept worship from superior. Inferior should worship superior. So he said, you are superior, I am inferior. By you are worshipping me, my spiritual life will be destroyed. यद्यपि तुम्हारा सब ब्रह्म समभाषे लोक शिक्षा लागे ऐसे करिते ना आसे. He said, you are Brahman, realize you see everyone Brahman, you are very good. But my dear sir, for you everyone is on level of impersonal Brahman. But for the enlightenment of people in general, you should not behave in that way. So okay, you can see God everywhere, you can see Brahman everywhere, but I'm very good. So you should be very careful. देहो कहे तोमार पूर्वे निंदा अपराध एक जे करिलो तोमार चरण स्पर्श सब क्षय गेलो प्रकाशन सर. Formerly I have committed many offenses against you by blaspheming you, but now the effects of my offense are contracted by my touching your lotus feet. I said, oh my dear Lord, I have blasphemed you so much. I just want to atone, therefore I am taking dust of your feet. A person considered liberated in this life commits offense against the result of infinite potential of the supreme God will again fall down and desire the material atmosphere for material enjoyment. Being touched by the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, that serpent was immediately freed from the reactions by his sinful life. The serpent gave up his body and assumed the beautiful body of Vidyadhar. So, Prakash is relating the past time. In Krishna Lila, we see that Vidyadhar demon, he offended, so he became a serpent. And that when serpent was swallowing Nanda Maharaj, Krishna came and touched him, kicked him. And because his feet touched, serpent was delivered. He said, by touching your feet, that serpent was delivered. Similarly, I am like that serpent, very offensive, no? And by touching your feet, I am now delivered. Your Krishna, so he's telling you, Prabhu kahe, Vishnu, Vishnu, Ami Shudra Jiv, Hina, Jiva, Vishnu Mani, Ei Aparad Chinna. Prakashna supported himself, quoting how Krishna delivered snake. Similarly, I am like snake and you are delivering me. Thank you very much. He immediately said, no, Vishnu, Vishnu, I am not God. So Lord, those Chetma is Krishna himself. He is playing role of devotee and is demonstrating how one should be careful. Chetma says, if someone accepts a fallen conditioned soul as Vishnu, Bhagavan, or an incarnation, he commits a great offense. जीव विष्णु बुद्धि दूरे जय ब्रह्म रुद्र सम नारायण माने पाषांडी गणना. Suchitma said, to say nothing about living even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot be considered on the level of Vishnu or Narayan. If one considers them as such, he is immediately considered an offender, an atheist. So this all this, they consider themselves God. He said, forget even Brahma and Shiva also are not equal. So to consider oneself to God or consider any ordinary person God is offense. So in that way, Mahaprabhu is actually instructing them and rectifying their. A person who considers demigod like Brahma and Shiva to be equal with Narayan, they are considered offenders, partialities. Prakashana Saraswati replied, Prakashananda kahe, tumi sakshat Bhagwan, tabu yadi karantar asa viman. He said, you are supreme God Krishna himself, unless you are considering yourself to be eternal servant. Tabu puja havo tumi boda ama haite, sarva nasha hai amora, tamara nindate. My dear Lord, you are supreme Lord, and although you consider yourself as Lord's servant, you are nonetheless worshipable. You are much better than I am. And therefore, all my spirituality have been lost because I have blasphemed you. So, sincerely repenting. So, this way we see later on, Mahaprabhu. So, both of them wonderfully exchanged. Then all Prakashana Saraswati disciples also surrender. And then Mahaprabhu starts Kirtan. Then all Mayavadis headed with chant and dance. in ecstasy in Varanasi. And seeing that all people are jubilant. And since then, when all Varanasi people, they just started flocking everywhere. So Mahaprabhu, he was not able to go anywhere because wherever you go, there were lots of people there. Uh, so it was becoming every day very difficult for him to, because so much crowd. Um, and then Mahaprabhu said, it's time I should go. Leave. Said then Mahaprabhu leaves. But while going, he was very happy. He was thinking, I have brought so much wealth. But earlier he was thinking there was no customer. So he thought that I will have to go back. But then seeing that there is no customer, freely Mahaprabhu distributed. Even though they were not qualified, Mahaprabhu blessed them and delivered them. So we see this is the style of Mahaprabhu's preaching. It's very merciful. He doesn't say any qualifications. And he does that very humble way. Not only Mahaprabhu is preaching, Mahaprabhu is also instructing others to preach. Mahaprabhu instructed Nityananda and Haridas to please go to road door and preach. And we see Nityananda following the instruction. He is preaching to everyone, including Chagai Madai. Similarly, we see following the mood, we see all the acharyas, Sri Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. Everybody is preaching. We see Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, he established first temple in New York himself. But then Mukunda, Prabhu, he got a job too in San Francisco. He went to San Francisco. When he was going, Prabhupada said, you should start temple there. He thought that now it's finished. Now I have got job there, I will have, I think forget it, what to do. I don't know. He was thinking how I will practice continue, but he was thinking let me at least inform Prabhupada and then go. But I came to Prabhupada said we should start there. Few months. Then he said, I have to start there, but what to do? And when he went to San Francisco, first time he had one friend. So he went to meet his friend and explained him about Prabhupada. And he inspired me. That friend was Shyam Sundar Prabhu. Then Mukunda Prabhu, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, and then Guru Das Prabhu. And then they collected many people in the center. They just rented storefront, started preaching. Just and then after they had few devotees, then Mukunda sent letter to Prabhupada to invite him to San Francisco. And he sent a ticket, flight ticket. So this was the first flight Prabhupada took in his life. Entirely, he had never sat in an aeroplane. But first flight he took from New York to San Francisco. And when Prabhupada arrived in San Francisco, there were 50 young people chanting and dancing to welcome Prabhupada. Prabhupada was so amazed, And he saw Mukunda and then Mukunda took him to the temple and then introduced to all the devotees. And then, just in a few months, center came up. And then later on, Prabhupada was remembering how his spiritual master had a great desire to start a temple in London. And he had sent his best of the sannyasis. Not only had sent sannyasis, he had sponsored them. And he had made a lot of arrangements. And then he was really praying that they become successful. So the sannyasis went to London and they were warmly received. They gave some talks in some elite institutes and all those things. They met some elite people. And one of them was Mr. Lord Jetlin. And that Lord Jetlin asked, can you make me Brahma? They said, yes, sure, we can make Brahma. Only you have to follow these 4 principles. No meditating, no gambling, no use sex, no intoxication. Lord Jetlin said, impossible. So practically, they went, but there was nothing much impact. They came back. So in one sense, it was disaster. And when they came back, they told Mr. that your philosophy doesn't work. And it was so painful of this So, and they went there where it would shoot time and all these things. But Prabhupada had that. So he sent this 3 girls that was Mukunda and Janaki, and Gurudas, we should go preach and next time. These girls went. They asked, Swami, you don't have money. What to? Prabhupada said, I also didn't have money. My special master did not give money, he just gave instruction. So he said, I am also giving you this instruction. But somehow they collected some money just for the flight. And for visa or something that to enter, there was some immigrants. They had to show some money. So one couple went and then they sent that money back again. They showed again that same money. Again, second couple went. Then third again they sent back the third one. They didn't have proper number. And they were not knowing where they will stay, what they will eat. That they have to serve and teach. Like Prabhupada was didn't know where to stay, but he was dependent. He was having faith that if I serve Krishna, Krishna will take care of me. Similarly, we see this person, they were living under, in the initial days, even under flyovers. Can you imagine? In flyover, homeless people, how they feel. And they were doing something. That's how. But they are great designs. How then they were able to convince George Harrison to become devotee. And then they invited Prabhupada. And then later on, we see George Harrison donated that opulent manor. We had a beautiful temple. And also George Harrison donated for Krishna book. And especially made a record. It's my sweet Lord and Hare Krishna. All these things. Hare Krishna come Prabhupada. Krishna was spread like wildfire. So we see in those times actually, mostly preaching, Prabhupada sent one family, one grastas, one husband wife, go start center there. So one family was going to different parts and starting temple, starting centers, and that's how preaching expanded. So Prabhupada considered it was he did not think that preaching is meant for sannyasis and liberated souls and very advanced. He considered preaching as part of a sadhana. Like you have to chant Hare Krishna. So you have to also preach. Because by preaching, we get that faith, we get that conviction, we get purification, especially this Mahaprabhu's moment. Mahaprabhu's desire is to preach in your town. And anybody agrees to be instrument in hand, it is Mahaprabhu who will purify. That was faith of Prabhupada, and therefore Prabhupada engaged even most movement people in preaching. And so, and therefore this is ISKCON, the great revolution of the last 60 years of Krishna and ISKCON. So, there are three types of teachers. One teacher is one who knows subject thoroughly. So he is considered third class teacher. Knows his subject perfectly. Second class teacher is one who not only knows subject well, but he can also present well, so that students can understand. He is second class teacher. But first class teacher is one who loves the student and he wishes well for students. So Prabhupada had that compassion, that he was very concerned that everybody takes a Krishna and become happy. He used to feel pain by seeing people suffering. So we don't need big qualification to be a preacher. We just need to feel concerned that these people are suffering with a lack of Krishna. I should be there. And we don't need to be great scholars. What are simple things? We just know Krishna is such a person, but I am his servant. That is subject. Just know that we are fit to be preachers. And and by preaching, not only is good philosophy, but also we have to be proper savajana. Then how to be humble. This way, we are just humble, behaving humble, and just presenting what scriptures are presenting, what is being presented in Parampara, not just concocting something, speculating something, and something making something so called fashionable and attractive. But if somebody is present in a very humble way, we can have a impact. And the greatest impact is that the whole world will become devotee or not, at least we will become this. You know, peaceful and happy. We see Mahaprabhu when he went to South India, just come to Delhi. And when he met Kurum Brahmana said, "Oh, my dear Mahaprabhu, I'm so miserable. This material is so terrible. And it's very difficult. It's unbearable. So please take with me." Mahaprabhu said, "No, this material is terrible, unbearable." That, yes, I agree. But just by taking sannyas and going around, you are not going to be happy. Best is you stay at home and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
and preach. If you chant Hare Krishna and preach to others, then you will not find this material miserable. You find this material blissful, happy. And not only that, he said, if you continue this, you will realize, you will get my darshan soon. So just by chanting Hare Krishna, preaching Hare Krishna, we can overcome all the miseries of this world and we can realize God and we can get darshan. And same way, we see later on, Mahaprabhu met this leper, Vasudeva leper. His whole body was filled with leprosy. But he was so eager to meet Mahaprabhu came and embrace him. And leprosy went away. When leprosy went away, he was feeling so awkward. He was saying, Mahaprabhu, I was earlier having leprosy, everybody considered me lowly, nobody was sitting with me. It was very easy for me to be humble, and I was able to chant. But now you have shown so much mercy, my leprosy is gone, I have got this beautiful golden body. Now everybody will glorify me. And I become so much puffed up, I become proud. I'm in great anxiety now. How will I practice Krishna Lila in such a proud state? Who said no? If we chant Hare Krishna and preach this message of Krishna to others, you will not become proud. So if you don't preach, there is great chance you may become proud. You may think I'm such a great person, great scholar, great pandit, great personality, great temptation to whole world. But when you preach, by preaching, actually, situations will make us humble. People will make us humble. And when you see how we have to set standards, we have to follow, all these things will make us humble. And most importantly, Krishna will please with us and Krishna will bless our activity. And then we can actually make a chance, we can relish, like Mahaprabhu here said, Mahaprabhu relish bhakti. So then, relish bhakti, proper. Siddhanta started to proper. You are a young man, educate your mind. Why don't you take this message about it and preach Western England? This will do good to you, and this will do good to the whole world. So this teaching of Krishna consciousness actually came to good to us and good to all. So I'm so happy to see here in Boston such wonderful mood of devotees, and now I'm seeing that family of Vaishnavas growing here. Earlier we had Mataji, wonderfully active preaching. We had our Ramchandra and Mataji. We had last time I came, Chaitanya Prabhu and Mataji, they were married. And then this time I came, I saw now Pitambar Poo has got married Mataji. And now he's there, Shiva Chandran Prabhu. So all of them, if they can just practice Krishna and preach, we'll be happy. But if you don't preach, this material is very difficult, it's very miserable, it's terrible, it's unbearable. And especially in America, supremely stressful. You always worry what will happen to my visa, whether I will thrown out in the please, we should know that I am here on mission, Krishna will take care of it. So if you think of yourself, you'll be always miserable. But if you think of serving mission of God, then we will not have any anxiety. Because I have a job, other things are detailed. My job is to serve Krishna, spread the mission. Other things are details that Krishna will arrange. How that has to be arranged, that is secondary thing. So sometimes people say, oh, I don't have a job today and searching. Why you are searching for a job? You already got appointment letter. Chairman has already given Amar Agya. So already you have got appointment, already you have got job, already you have service. Now you do your job and later paperwork and all this thing, Krishna will do whatever needs to be done. And so our job is we are servant of Krishna, our mission. If you focus on that, rest of the thing will be taken. But if you don't focus on that and you think of other things, you will always in anxiety. So you have built the house, so we should have doors also, otherwise it will become samadhi. House have door, go out of the door and invite people in the house. And sometimes people are afraid to enter the house, so we can have windows. People can look from window and see how it is. So windows are like in that you can do some yoga classes, some Ayurveda classes, some music, some different things, and inspire. And people are happy. This okay, by peeping in window, they feel happy. Then you enter through the door. They enter don't. There is experience real happiness. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Ram Sankirtan.
Jai.
Jai. Shri Ram Jai.
This guy is the Prabhu ki
Jai.
Purva Brahmana he says that Tare Dekho Tare Ko Krishna Pradesh. He says, and Hare Krishna Nirantar and then go this.
That is our job description.
Job, joy of bhakti. And you have joy of bhakti. J-O-B.
Job. Job. Yes.
Koji was saying Pasad, and Koji was saying that teaching karna.
Both are low. I was not only dancing, dance.
I saw a lot of crowd yesterday also.
Yes, they're only dancing. You have to just do kirtan, become dancing.
Monday,